What's good, ladies and gentlemen? What is good? It is Thursday night. This is Black Baseball Mixtape Live. I've got my guy in the building, Lewis Brinson. Lewis is not in his normal battleship station. He is on location, on the road. Lewis, where are you?
I'm in Daytona Beach right now. I am not in Kansas anymore.
You are in Daytona Beach, but
in
you were in Daytona
Daytona
Beach for a
Beach.
very good reason. So let the people know why you were in Daytona Beach and a little bit of what you got to do. I believe it was today with you and your mother, right?
Yes. So I'm out here with the Florida Minority Baseball Alliance at their Florida Shine Classic, their third year of doing their Florida Shine Classic. They had a panel discussion today, just talking through with some parents and some players that they have for the showcase, which is tomorrow, which I can't make, but me, my mom, and my partner Trevor came up here to discuss some aspects of mental health, on and off the field, our journey with me and my mom, and how we kind of navigated through baseball. We didn't have an organization like this to kind of guide us and give us like the blueprint of how to go about talking to colleges, how to go about pro ball. So this is a really good opportunity for us as well to give back to some families that are going through what me and my mom went through, in high school and going into college, choosing a college, which college to go to, which one not to go to, who to listen to. Now they got NIL, and I
Yeah.
wasn't part of that discussion because I have no idea about none of that. So
Right.
just giving the little insight and just giving advice to parents. My mom telling stories and how she navigated and she did her own research and whatnot. So it was a good time. I'm really happy and honored to be a part of it. And this year was in Daytona, and it was great. Good old city of Daytona, man. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. I
hmm
love I'm a big proponent of conversations with family. I'm a big
hmm
proponent of having mothers on panels and talking
hmm
to parents of athletes and especially having them ask questions. Now, is this something that your mom likes to do? Like, I know you like to publicly speak and get out there. Is this something where your mom is also very active in this?
No, this is the first time she's ever done something like this. So when they asked her,
Really? So was she nervous?
she was like hesitant. She was like, "What's it gonna be? What do I wear? Who's gonna be there?" She was a little hesitant at first, but
Nice.
she kind of got over it. I'm like, Mom, it's for a good cause. When they asked me, "Hey, will your mom be open to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure." And I asked her, I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, it's a good cause. You're literally going to be giving advice to other parents that were in your position, that were in our position, like coming up. So
Right.
I think it'd be a good opportunity for you to get back, and it's a little opportunity for us to spend some time together. So.
Well, I love that. I pitched I will tell you this. I pitched this thing. We both do a lot of work with the players' lines. I
Mm,
pitched I guess it's off the field on the record or on the record off the field. One of the video series
yeah.
that we did with the Players Alliance, and I will tell you, everybody in the Players Alliance loved it. Logistically, we couldn't
Mm,
get it together for this year,
yeah.
but I pitched uh mothers on Mother's Day, like a
Mm,
panel of mothers talking about what it was like to have elite athletes, especially elite black baseball player athletes,
mm.
on a panel with a live video discussion. I thought it would be
Oh
fantastic.
no, it'd be
I was
dope.
like,
It would be
and
dope. Yeah.
so again, I know the Players Alliance were in support of it. We just couldn't logistically get it done this
Yeah.
year. But there are some groups. Shout out to Paula Wood, James Wood's mother, and Nas Nunez's mother, and Justin Henry Malloy's mother. There's these groups that have like kind of these Facebook chat like they're giving game to parents of like
Oh, that's
elite
awesome.
black baseball players,
Mhm.
and they have these like groups, and it's really like it's active. I know uh, James Wood's mom and Nas Nunez's mom are in like that DC area, and they
Mhm.
have this like really active group. So I guess uh, it's fantastic. But I'm a
Oh,
big
that's
fan
dope.
of it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a big fan of mothers talking about what it's like, and fathers. I pitched the same thing for Father's Day. There's a lot of
Mhm.
active dads out there as well. I think their conversation. The funny part is, I think the conversation. If you got a bunch of dads in a room of
Mhm.
elite baseball, especially black baseball players, and you got a group of moms in the room, and you separate the rooms, I think the conversations would be totally different.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think like the dad conversation would be much more I
Yeah.
want to say coach speak type stuff. And the
Right.
moms will be like,
Right.
let me tell you all the hell we went through.
Yeah, and how do I get this dude? How do I get this man to, feel a certain way? And how do I
Right.
help him to cope with
Right.
bad nights and dealing with scouts and different schools and stuff? Like, how do I, navigate that? And then the dads would, like you said, just be like, how do I get him better? How do I get,
Performance.
yeah, how do I get him better? How do
And
I
I
get
mean,
him
look, we
ranked
go through that a
top in
little
the
bit in
nation?
our household. We're going to talk about this, Lou, in just a little bit because one
Yeah.
of the things I wanted to tee up was the like the big game pressure stuff. But before we do that, I've always got to start by thanking our partners and our sponsors:
Absolutely.
Stilo Sports, the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, Number Game Scorecards, Minority Prospects, Red, Black, and Green Baseball. This is a time of year. We are in June. And Lou, let me tell you something about business. I didn't know everything about the business of podcasting, but I am learning certain things. One thing I am learning is that contracts run out. And so as we move forward, our partners will change. I never really thought about that. In the long run, it's a good thing. It's a blessing. More people are paying attention. More people are listening. So, in some circumstances, the price has gone up. Some circumstances, relationships have changed. New sponsors want to come in. Old sponsors are going out. But I will say for now, this month, the sponsors of the Black Baseball Mixtape are Stilo Sports, the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest, Number Game Scorecards, Minority Prospects, Red and Black and Green Baseball. And I encourage you all to support our partners, especially Numbers Game Scorecards and Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds. Both have access codes. If you put in the code when you order their products, Black Baseball Mixtape or BBM, you'll get not only a discount on the product, but you'll also help support the podcast. So we're very excited about that. I'm just learning, man. Business is nobody gets into the podcasting business. Well, man, I guess some people do. Like when you're talking about a podcast that's so specific to growing the game of Black baseball, you don't really get into it for the business aspect of it. But sometimes
You
business
live and
comes
you
knocking, so
learn.
you
You
got to
live
do
and you
these
learn, man.
things.
With anything,
You
yeah,
live
we're all
and you
learning. I
learn.
haven't figured out what I'm doing with the podcast and with getting on media and stuff. But you ask people that have been through it, and you just live and you learn, man. It's a different business for sure. Things are gonna change. People aren't gonna see your viewpoints the same sometimes, and you just gotta pivot, man. You gotta pivot and make adjustment.
It's a fun. I will tell you this. I enjoy the business. I enjoy obviously the game. I enjoy talking about the game. I enjoy talking to players
Mm-hmm.
about the game. I actually do enjoy the business aspect of it. It's not something I really thought I would be kind of knee deep in. I'm watching. There's a brand new series on Netflix right now, and it just came out. And it's Shaq. Shaq is taking over Reebok.
Yeah, I saw
Shaq
that.
bought
Him
Reebok,
and
and there's a Netflix series on right now where Shaq is the president and he's trying to revitalize Reebok
him and
basketball
Allen
shoes.
Iverson.
And he
Him and
hired,
AI.
he
Yeah.
hired Iverson as vice president.
Mm-hmm.
So Shaq and Iverson are trying to grow a brand that has obviously a lot of built-in advantages. Because obviously Iverson, even all right, I'm from Virginia. I live in Virginia. Allen Iverson's like God
Right.
to us. So I say that to say everybody wore the AIs. I don't know anybody that wore Shaqs, honestly,
I had
just
a pair.
period.
I
Like
had a pair of
the
Shaq.
Reebok pumps, I get it. But Iverson, the questions changed everything
Yeah.
for us. So when I think of Reebok basketball and Reebok basketball shoes, I think of the question and the answer. I think of Allen
Mm-hmm.
Iverson shoes. I don't think of like Shaq, and I know he was the first Reebok like basketball signature athlete. Long story short is if you're a fan of business and you're a fan of brands and brand
Mm-hmm.
building, the series is like a masterclass on how you go out and sign players, brand awareness, marketing, technology. Like it's
I'm gonna have to
really fun
watch
to
that.
watch.
That's on Netflix.
And if you like that,
Yeah, I
it's
gotta
on
watch that.
Netflix. If you like that type of behind the scenes, let's really like get in the weeds of how you take a product and try to
Mm-hmm.
grow it, on a budget. Like
Shaq's got his finger in
it's
everything,
a
man.
lot of fun.
He got Papa John's, he got Icy High, he got everything, man. He gonna come out with tequila next.
And he's not the obviously we talk about this in business. He's not the first, and this is it's a great segue too because guys like Magic Johnson, these guys that were really like that landed in an entrepreneurial
Mm-hmm.
space. Shaq is
Yeah.
huge into promotion and entrepreneurship and owning certain. Those guys own things that you don't even know they
Correct.
own.
Yeah.
And when you start to really dig into their portfolio, it's interesting. It's awesome to learn. It's awesome to
Mhm.
see. And I'm interested in the long term. They did this strategy, and this is another good. And I can circle it back to baseball as well. But they did this strategy where they went super. They couldn't afford to go established star,
Mhm.
right? So, and they're competing against
Mhm.
Nike, they're competing against
Under Armour
Adidas.
and all
And
that.
again, they tell you a little bit of the backstory. Adidas bought Reebok and basically
Yeah.
buried them.
I did.
And then ultimately Shaq bought Reebok
Right.
back. But that's what happened. Reebok was sold to Adidas, and that's why Adidas shoes, basketball shoes, are number
Uh,
two because they buried
right.
Reebok
No, I didn't know
basically,
that. I didn't
and then
know that.
Reebok
That's
comes back.
interesting information.
So, but the point is, they can't afford to go established all stars, so they've got to go
Mhm.
young. Before we get into anything related, because we have some goals that we got to touch to on
Mhm.
this podcast. If you are going to select, if you are going to, I don't know, if you had your druthers of a young player to put, a Lewis Brinson signature cleat on,
Mm.
who would that player be? Who do you think in the next 5, 10, 15 years would be the signature player that you would want to rep the Lewis Brinson brand?
Man, that's a loaded question.
Jeez. I didn't think of this. This
Yeah,
was on the spot
that's
because we were
on the
just talking about
spot.
the
I
film.
see. Man, that's a good because I'm in between two guys. I'm in I'm in
Okay.
between two guys right now. Like just the first two names that pop up in my head are James
Okay.
Wood and Pete Crow Armstrong in the game
Okay.
today, right now. Um,
Yep.
I'm leaning more towards Pete just because I like the dynamic
Okay.
aspect of his game. But
Yes.
James Wood, on the other hand, I think is going to be, as far as like longevity, I think he's going to have a longevity, like a longer career in a sense, just because of his polishness at the plate and just everything that he
Yeah.
brings to his at bats. His at bats are just so advanced for how young he is. What is he, 22, 23? I think 22, yeah.
Yeah. He's. I
And
mean,
he's just so advanced. So I
yeah,
think the
around there. Yeah.
longevity, we're playing the long game here. I think we're going James Wood, but just for the dynamic aspect, just the smoothness of Pete Crow, it's tough. But I think I'm going to lead more towards James Wood on that aspect. That's just for me. Who do you got?
That's a
Yeah.
good question. I hadn't thought about it either. I will tell you, I am a huge James Wood fan as a
Mm-hmm.
player, as a brand owner. I would and I love, like I said, I love the Papa John's commercial. I love everything he's doing right now. But as a brand owner, I'm gonna have to think about this more. I don't
You have the
know.
more
I mean,
exciting,
he's
you
everybody.
know?
Yeah, everybody's got to come into their
Yeah.
personalities, but I'm not going to put a bunch of money into, like, say, a Mike Trout
Uh,
personality. I need a Deion Sanders type personality. I
you
need
needed
somebody
Jazz.
that not only is going to perform
Yeah.
on the field, but like carry the brand in a way that I want to carry the brand. Not saying that James can't do it. And James, the thing about James is he's also
Yeah.
very young,
I think he'll come
right?
into that
He's also
personality a little
very
bit
young.
more.
So yeah, he's got a lot of time to grow into that
Yeah.
personality. But if I'm looking down, in my mind, I'm thinking he's off limits because he's already signed with Reebok. He's already signed with New
Mhm.
Balance. Michael Harris is a good
Mhm.
one. You know what?
Lawrence?
No. Oh yeah, Lawrence is a
Mhm.
great one. But this is where I'm gonna go, and we're gonna talk about this because it's gonna be on the agenda. I'm sure we talk about it.
Mhm.
OL. Give me Chandler Simpson.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna take Chandler Simpson for the next. I'm gonna get like I want to get a roster of
Yeah.
players. But if I've got to get a signature player
Mhm.
right now, I'm gonna take Simpson and I'm gonna build my brand around speed and make it like, because he's got a great
Mhm.
personality, $1 million smile. He's got this one
He's a
aspect
rapper as
that he
well.
does
He's a
better than others.
rapper. He got music
Chandler,
out. Yeah.
all of them are rappers. Will Benson's a rapper. Lawrence Butler's a rapper. They're
Yeah.
all rappers. Marquise Chrism Jr. are
Victor
rappers.
Scott.
But
Yeah.
you know what I would do? This is what I would do, and 100%. I would put as much money as possible behind the Hill Boys in Atlanta. So that's Lawrence Butler, Michael Harris, Chandler
Mm-hmm.
Simpson, I think Grissom Jr.'s, all of the like the whole
Yeah.
collective. I'm buying them all like G Unit, and that's where I'm starting my brand. The Hillboys in Atlanta. Give me those
Okay.
guys. I don't know how much money it would cost. That's what I'm
Okay.
going to do.
Okay. It would be cheap. I'll tell you that. With that grind, it wouldn't be cheap. But I
Well,
like
look,
it. Okay.
that was we didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, that's if you are in if you are in the chat right now, if you are starting your own brand, baseball, especially again, baseball brand, you're starting your own brand, who do you sign for the next 5, 10,
Mm,
15 years? Lewis
mm,
Brinson is leaning towards PCA and
mm,
James Wood. I'm thinking I'm just gonna lock up all the Hill boys if possible. Again, tricky because Harris is with New
yeah.
Balance, but I would try to get Harris,
Yeah.
Butler. I think Victor Scott the second's in
Mm.
there. Chandler Simpson's in there. I'm gonna try to get them all.
Draw them to your brand. Draw them off New Balance, man. Create a pitch. You gotta create a pitch.
Creative.
You gotta make it sweet. Make
I
a
don't know.
sweet deal for them.
New Balance is doing it big. They got
Oh yeah,
Shohei over there. They got Michael
yeah.
Harris over there.
They
They
got
got
Lindor
Lindor
too.
too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be
I'm
messing
about
with
to
New
say you
Balance in
might
that
want to
sense.
leave
We'll see.
New Balance alone, man.
Yeah, you might want to leave. Like we might have to leave.
They done upgraded the
That
dad
situation. Mode.
shoe. Yeah.
Get all the other
Oh
Hill
yeah,
boys there.
yeah. You might have to leave Michael Harris out of that.
So let's talk about it because we're in the time of year now. And just earlier this week, I went to a high school regional semifinal here in
Right.
Virginia. Shout out to all the kids playing high school baseball. This Saturday, my son, who's 10, has got his little league playoffs. I'm the coach. I'm a little league
Okay.
coach of 10-year-olds and they're in their their second round of their playoff game, and this is the big one because if they win they go to the championship. And so it got me thinking, and you were talking about the mental aspect of the game, but it got me thinking, Lou, to ask you about how did you prepare for the biggest
Mm,
games, the most hyped games of your career. So it's like one thing where it's like, oh, I'm feeling a certain way because I'm debuting at this level, whether it's affiliate ball or I'm debuting in the
yeah.
major leagues. Those are big games, but those are not necessarily big
Yeah.
team games unless you're like debuting in
Yeah.
the playoffs. But you've played games, whether it was in your youth, you played games whether it was in high school where it was like this game means everything, not just for myself
Yeah.
personally, but this means something for the team. This means something for the community that's following the
Mm,
team. This is a big
yeah.
game. Did you find yourself with extra pressure on those games, and how did you go about? What was your attitude and approach when you knew you were playing a game that meant something more than just
Yeah.
yourself?
So in high school versus high school versus pro ball, obviously totally different. High school, it was me and another kid of mine that was just the guys. You know what I'm saying? We were the leaders, we were the captains. We had a little bit more pressure. Obviously, the whole team felt pressure because it's the biggest game in high school I played was a regional final going to states, and we lost that game. We were sophomores going up against a bunch of seniors for another team. Bunch of seniors versus a bunch of sophomores, and we lost 2-1
Mhm.
in like the 10th inning. So, but getting prepared for that game was, we're hyped. Going through school, everybody knows we got the regional final tonight. Everybody's going to the game. Everybody's congratulating you. Hey, man, well, I'm gonna be at the game. I'm gonna be at the game. Me and my girlfriend or me and my family coming to the game tonight, man. Good luck. So it was a little bit of like minor pressure, if you will, in high school, but that's like your biggest game to of your life,
Yeah.
at that point in high school. But it wasn't as significant as coming up in my rookie year, playing in rookie ball. We played and won the championship of rookie ball in the AZL. So preparing for that game, it was like, oh man, this is championship game. We're in rookie ball, so it's not as magnified as like if you're in affiliated ball or in the big leagues, of course. But you prepare for it as you get older. You try to prepare for it the same way you would for a regular game. And like I said, in high
Mhm.
school, you're 18, 16, 17, 18. In rookie ball, I'm 18 years old. So I'm putting like, I got to listen to my hype music all day. I got to be locked in. I can't, what I'm saying? I can't talk to nobody. Like, it's a different type of locked in when you're that young, because you just don't know how to prepare yet. What I'm saying? To
Mhm.
that magnitude. Now you get to the big leagues, and played in a playoff game. I played against the Phillies in big games, against the Mets in big games, and you just prepare as you would any other game. You try to be as even keel as you can. You try to prepare as if it's just game 52 of the season, rather than game one of the NLDS. You know what I'm saying? So
So let me ask you this, because you said in the major leagues you played
yeah,
in big games. Obviously, you played in playoff games. I'm sure the playoff vibe is a
it,
little
it
bit
was
different.
weird because it was 2020, so there was nobody there. Yeah,
Right. So nobody was there. So
it's a
that's a
little
little
different. Yeah.
different as well. In the major leagues at that
Mm-hmm.
level, because right now, like we're just talking about this, the women's college World Series is
Mm-hmm.
on. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine the emotions and the pressure that these young women are
Mm-hmm.
going through. Tomorrow starts the the NCAA baseball super regionals. I can't imagine the emotions that these guys
Mm-hmm.
are going through at the major league level. When you play a game, was like, oh, we're playing a big game against the Phillies, or this is a big
Mm-hmm.
series. Does it feel different? Because I can't imagine it feels like you said, when you were in high school playing the
Yeah.
regionals. It just seems
The
like, again, one, you don't know how to handle kind of the emotions of
Right.
everything else that's
Right.
happening around you. I think in the pros, you're a little bit more locked in, a laser focus, even a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
isolated, right? But I guess it's a two-part question, because I'm wondering in the pros, when you have a series that you really want to win, what's the tone? How do you because you're playing so
Mm-hmm.
much, you're playing every day. How do you even know this is an important series? Is like the manager tell
I
you?
mean,
Like,
so going back to like the regional and the super regional for NCAA baseball and softball, for those, for especially nowadays, it's so magnified now. It's so highlighted.
yeah,
You know what I'm
they're
saying? Like they're on ESPN. The softball game one is on or game two now is on ESPN. Like it's broadcasted, highly throughout, different networks and different channels and different media outlets. So like there are so many eyes on these girls and so many
yeah,
eyes on these kids playing at a college level, to where it's like that's also added pressure. You already know it's a big game. You're going against the top pitchers or the top position players. For baseball, this kid's supposed to get drafted number one overall. This guy's supposed to go in the first top 10 picks. So there's added pressure on top of that. Plus, you're just cameras everywhere. It's like a big league atmosphere when you start to get to the
yeah.
College World Series. It's like a big league atmosphere. There's cameras everywhere. There's analysts on the field when you're warming up. Like it's not just a regular game. You can feel that this is not a regular game.
Yeah, it's. I mean, look, Pat Mahomes is in
Right,
the stands
right,
right
and
now
you know
cheering
that
on
you
Texas
see
Tech.
them. People,
There and everybody, yeah. It's so this and again, this is for this environment, especially when you talk about women's
right,
college world series softball. It's the biggest environment they're
exactly,
ever going to get. So
exactly,
even when they go
yeah.
pro, if it's heaven forbid, knock
Hmm.
on wood, Athletes United softball league really takes off. Guess what? It's not as big as what's going to happen
It could
here.
eventually turn that way, but it's not that. It's not right. It's not
Not,
as
not, yeah,
big as
not now.
how these
Not
girls
yeah, not
are
now.
being
Right,
magnified and how they're being
right,
watched. Every eye is on
right.
women's softball,
It's like
especially with the ASU or with
right,
the
but
softball league
I
becoming
talk
a thing. Like it's very very
right.
magnified. Oh, we're gonna see these girls in professional softball next year.
But they're not. But here's the thing: I talk to SEC
Hmm.
baseball players all the time that ultimately get drafted, and I catch them in high or
Yeah,
double A,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
ask them, "Hey, what was it like playing at at LSU,
Oh my
Alabama,
gosh.
Vanderbilt, Tennessee every night versus what's it like playing at high ball in Eugene,
Yeah,
Oregon, or Fredericksburg, Virginia?" And he's just like, "It's
yeah.
night and day. It's
Oh yeah,
night and day." So
yeah.
it's like those guys. So it's interesting to see again big games, even like you're saying your rookie ball. That's a good question. Your rookie ball
Hmm.
playoff game or
Yeah,
championship versus your high school
yeah.
regional. Which one were you more
For my high
nervous
school
for?
regional, 100%. 100%. I mean, rookie ball, high school
Right, right,
regional, we ordered different, more stands. Like we didn't have outfield
yeah,
stands. It was just like
right,
trees in the
Right.
outfield.
It's
So we
different.
had more stands along the foul territory outside the fence. Like we took down windscreens so people could see through the fence. Like there was a bunch of people
Yeah,
there. There was a bunch of
absolutely.
scouts. So like I was nervous. I was 17 or
Yeah.
no, at that time 15 years old. So like playing in
Yeah.
front of like hundreds of people, and obviously, dreams and aspirations to play in front of, hundreds of thousands of people. But this is the most I've ever played in front of everybody. Now there's music playing. We're getting an introduction. We're getting on the
Yeah.
line. We're, doing the national anthem on the line like they would in the big leagues, like how we watch. So like I was way more nervous for that. In rookie ball, everybody that was in the stands was the pitchers that didn't pitch that day.
Right. That was it.
Recording the
That
game
was
and
it.
had the gun. Like it was just a regular game. Honestly, it was at the
Yeah.
old A's complex in where's that, in Scottsdale. That's not their complex anymore. But yeah, there was like nobody there, and we dogpiled after we won. But I wasn't
But
really
nobody was
that
there.
nervous. No.
So, so your advice again? We always like to have young people listen to the podcast. We always like to have parents of young people listen to
Mhm.
the podcast. Like I said, a lot of them right now are going through whether it's high school playoffs. Some of them are going to play in the super regional this
Right.
weekend. Some of them have these big time games with emotions and trying to prepare. What's your best advice to the young folks that are going to be playing these games with, like, even if it gets to like, we get to the time of year where every game leading up to the Little League World Series is on
Seriously.
TV. Not just the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
Every game leading up to the Little League
Yeah.
World Series. What do you have to tell the young folks that are going to play these emotionally driven games as we go
Yeah,
through the
it's
summer?
just, I mean, it's tough to kind of it's easy to put in words, but it's easier said than done. Play it like it's a regular game. You prepare however you prepare for your regular game during the game, 10 versus however many games you played at the end of the season. Just prepare the same exact way, and there won't be any added pressure. Now, if you try to do something different, if you try to eat something different or listen to some different music, or try to listen to music and you normally don't listen to music, or you try to, not take a nap, or you normally take a nap, or you know, you try to do something that you think you should do for a bigger game, it's just going to mess you up. It's going to add more pressure. It's going to get in your head. It's going to get in your headspace of like, oh man, this is bigger than a normal game. Like I gotta perform. But I gotta do more. It's like, no, you don't have to do more. You just do what you did during the regular season. Especially if you had a good year, just do what you did to get here. And however it'll play out, it'll play out. Just do your job, and your job requires you to do the exact same thing that you do to prepare for each game. This is just a regular game. This is another game. Anytime in the big leagues, the biggest game I play in the big leagues is game one of the National or NLDS in 2020. Again, there was nobody there
This is
in
2020. Yep.
Houston,
Yep.
and our families. I could
Okay.
only thing we could hear was our
In the
families
bubble,
and
right?
our,
Were you in a
huh?
bubble?
Yeah,
Were
yeah,
you in a
we were in the
bubble?
bubble, so
Yeah.
there was nobody there. But that was the biggest game we played,
Yeah.
and it was like, listen, man, this is just another game. Donnie's message to us before the game, and all the veterans guys said, guys, this is just another game. It helps that there's nobody here, so it's not.
Did it make it easier? It
Oh,
had
it
to
made
make
it
it
a lot
easier.
easier, but we still felt the
Okay.
magnitude of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
covered, and
Because for an organization and a
for
franchise
sure.
that want
For
wants
sure,
to
for sure.
wants to
We felt
advance.
the
Yeah.
pressure
Yeah.
in Yankee Stadium when we clinched to go to the playoffs. We felt the pressure in Chicago when we beat the Cubs. Like it was still magnified. We knew the significance of the series and of these games, but at the same time, like any veteran that had actually been in a playoff atmosphere with tens of thousands of people and cameras and media and all this stuff surrounding the game, they would tell like, listen, man, prepare like a regular game, dude. And it helps that there ain't nobody here. So just like you
Mm.
get ready for a regular game, get ready for this same game that way, so you don't mess up your headspace. So that's what I would tell a young kid that's getting ready for a big game. Just prepare the regular way. However you prepare for a regular game, prepare that way for this big game. You know what I'm saying? And it'll help you just kind of relax through it.
Do you find that the coaches are more nervous and the
When it's
people
younger,
like
yeah,
around
when
you?
when it's a younger demographic, when it's a younger team, little league,
Yeah.
high school, maybe not so much college because those coaches have been to Usually those programs have been to, super regionals, and they've been to the College World Series, and they
Mhm.
know how to deal with that. So they're more so like calming down their players that have never been in. Hey guys, listen, this is an atmosphere of all atmospheres right now. You're playing in Omaha. This is going to be exhilarating. You're going to feel a jolt of energy as soon as you hit that field. Take a deep breath, take it all in, but remember, this is just a regular game. We're playing whatever baseball. We're playing LSU baseball. We're playing Texas baseball. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're playing our brand of
Mhm.
baseball. Don't make this bigger than it already is. You know what I'm saying? So I think for younger demographic of teams, like in high school, or unless the high school coach is
Mhm.
used to winning, I think the
Yeah.
younger the team is, or the younger the group is, I think, it's a little bit more mad about, man, I want to win this. I'm in high school. There's cameras here. There's a media team here. There's ESPN here, whatever. Or there's a bunch of scouts here. Like, I want to put on and show that I know how to manage, or I know how to coach these kids, or this means something to me. But I think the older and higher up the ranks you get, I think it's more of like, man, this is a really big game, but I don't know about nervousness. Unless you're a first year manager and you
Right.
just happen to get to the World Series, you might be a little nervous. But
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is you try to keep everybody
yeah.
calm. You prepare, as you've done. You do what you did to get
Hmm.
there. I do think it's harder. Like I said, as a as a coach of a 10-year-old
Hmm.
group, um, me and my wife thinks I'm insane because me and my assistant coaches are up. Basically, we practiced yesterday, which was Wednesday. Last night we were up well until midnight texting lineups to each other, trying to figure
Thinking.
out on
Hmm.
Saturday what these 9, 10-year-olds are gonna do to make it. But I think the interesting thing about especially young folks, I do want them to feel like when they hit between the lines of a
Hmm.
baseball field, it's just another
Right.
baseball game. And your talent that got you there will get you
Hmm.
further. But the other side of the coin, especially with young folks, and again, I don't even think this applies when you get to high school and college, because the high school kids, I think, are kind of dialed in. We saw a high school playoff game earlier this week, and those kids were just
Yeah.
locked in. You know what I mean? They were that once they got comfortable, there's some nerves, but they're
Hmm.
locked in. But 10-year-olds and little league guys, I mean, basically the team that focuses the most is usually
Yeah.
going to win, and the team that
Yeah.
executes. And usually your lack of execution is directly attributed to your
Right.
focus. So
Right.
it's
Or
like,
preparation.
I mean, again, these aren't kids that are picking daisies in the
Hmm.
outfield, but these are kids may sleep on a ready position. The ball is 2 steps out of their reach. Where if they were
Hmm.
locked in, they
Yeah.
get to it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Or it's a take two, get a strike. Oh no, I'm gonna swing at the first strike, and you're like, get it
Yeah.
together. Like we're trying to work. We're trying to do something
Yeah.
here.
They don't
So
get game strategy
I'm
yet. Not yet. Yeah.
yeah, we're and again, all of this falls on the coaches, which are just
Hmm.
dads. We're not
Yeah.
coaches. We're not
Right.
coaching at any high level. We may
Yeah.
think we are. We may think we're the guys in these movies, but we're really a bunch of dads trying to figure out like how to maximize the most out of these
Oh
young
yeah.
folks. And so it is funny. And again, the funny part is it's a group of in our group in particular is a group of dads that are like, drawing up chartboard plays and looking like a bunch of baseball nerds. And all of our wives and the mothers of these kids are living there like,
Look
look
at
at
these
these
idiots,
idiots.
man. These are 10-year-old kids. What are y'all doing right
Right.
now?
These are
Let the
10-year-old
ball
kids. What's
run
happening
around.
here? It is fun,
Yeah.
but I'm always interested to see because, like you said, as the games that when you talk to players, even players that are long
Hmm.
retired, that have had long Major League Baseball careers, if they haven't like played in the World Series or like an ALCS or an NLCS, and you ask them what's the most important game they've ever
Hmm.
played, most of them will go back to some regional
Hmm.
championship, state championship, or if they were lucky enough and played in like a bigger D1 like baseball program, they may say like, "Oh, I made it to Omaha. Those were
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
games." If you're fortunate enough, only a handful of Major League Baseball players have played in like Williamsport in the Little League
Hmm.
World Series, but those are the
Hmm.
defaults. The defaults are never like, oh, it was uh, a
I
wild
was
card
about to say a
playoff game
wild
here.
card game or a play-in
Yeah,
game or
no,
something. Yeah.
it's either World Series or state
Yeah. Yeah.
championship. So I always get a kick out of that, and I love that you talked a little bit, and I want to segue into something that I told you I was going to ask you about as well, because you talked a little bit about experience, especially in the managerial
Right.
front. If we fast forward to some of the things we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing now, the one that stands out to me the most is the recent termination of Brandon Hyde with
Mm-hmm.
the Orioles. I think that I personally kind of went online and said I would have gave him at least this
Mm-hmm.
year to finish out the season and see how bad it
Yeah.
really got before they released him. At the Major League Baseball
Mm-hmm.
level, I am really interested to get your perspective on how much of an influence that like the head coach, like again, we know the coaching staff has an
Yeah.
influence, but like in this case with the Orioles right now, they fire the manager and just like interimly hire the bench coach. Everybody else is there except
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Hyde. And I'm trying to figure out like now the Orioles have, believe it or not, won some games. They won a series against the
Right.
White Sox. They're winning right now against the Mariners, and so they've picked up the pace, and I'm trying to understand in my mind, is it just inevitable the Orioles weren't that bad? They were just playing really bad baseball. They were in a really bad rut. They're starting to get out of the
Yeah.
rut. Or is it like just, Brandon Hyde was done and I don't believe that. I can't drive myself to that. But in the major league level, how much does the manager have on like the influence of the team?
I mean, I think a lot. Your culture is built usually in spring training when the manager meets everybody for the first time and kind of addresses everybody. All right, this is how we're going to approach this year. Whether you came off a World Series title like the Dodgers, or you came off a very, very bad season or a disappointing season, you had an early exit in the playoffs. You kind of build the culture through the manager. Um, through that first meeting. I can always remember our first meetings in spring training. You kind of build the culture, you kind of build the mold of what we're trying to accomplish this year or in spring training. Starts in spring training. We're going to hustle more. We're going to play defense better. We're going to have better at bats. We're going to have a better plan, a better team approach. Just different aspects of the game that we could have done better last year or something that we failed at the year prior to. We're going to be better at this year. Whatever it is that, that thing is, the manager usually sets that tone with that first meeting in
Mhm.
spring training, along with the other coaches. Other coaches usually have something to say, or veteran players will have something to say, like, hey, listen, I agree with that. Let's hammer this. Let's really, really home this in. This is what held us back from getting to that league championship or getting to that World Series title or getting even into the playoffs. So you have a set mold, but it comes from the top, which is the manager in our eyes, because we really don't see the front office guys that much. We see the manager every day. So I think the
Mhm.
manager, but also you have to walk that fine line of you can't be too buddy, too personable with everybody on the team because you're going to have to make some tough decisions throughout the year. So you don't want to be you want to have a good relationship. You want to be able to talk to your guys. You want to be able to go in that locker room, like, and sit next to somebody, be like, "Hey, man, how you feeling today?" I heard what happened off the field. Whether it's something happened with your family, or I saw you limping in the dugout yesterday. You okay? How you doing? How you feeling? You need a day, or can you go today? Do I need to give you a day? What are the trainers saying? If you got an injury, got a
Mhm.
ling injury or something like that, you got to be able to trust your manager to have your back in any aspect of the game on that field. And I think with the Orioles, it's just tough because they have such a good team, such a good
Yep.
young talented team, and they just I think in my eyes just got off to a bad start. A lot of pitching injuries, a lot of things that just
Yeah.
didn't go their way early in the year. And I mean, still early in the season, yeah, we're getting to the halfway mark. All-Star games in less than 5 weeks. So I mean, you're getting to that halfway mark, but I think the media has really blown their bad start out of proportion. Now it is a really, really bad start, and we expected the Orioles. I think
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I don't know if I
No, I
subscribe to
think
that. I don't think the media blew their bad start out of proportion. I think
they
they
had
had a
a
bad
bad
start.
start, but I think it was to the magnitude of fire our manager. Like I think they kind of felt the pressure of like, oh, I think we need to fire our manager now, and I'm like, Like with
Like,
me, just personal experience. I never seen a
yeah.
manager get fired, but I saw a hitting coach get fired, and I
Mm-hmm.
personally felt like it was our fault. Like I remember going back. It was a buddy of mine. We were at home.
Speaking of which, I think then the Braves released their third
Yeah,
base coach
yeah.
just recently,
And
right? Yeah,
over, couple, I guess, couple internal mistakes that he had made. They highlighted a play
sure.
with Eli
But
White, but that was totally his fault with being held
yeah,
up at third, and he went all the way back to second base. Like that was totally his fault. But anyway,
yeah,
so I felt personally like it was my fault, or like it was our fault that this guy got fired, because it's us that have to go out there. It has to go out there and perform between the
right,
lines. We have to get it done on the
right.
field. All he, really is inclined to do is kind of give us as much help and as much information as we can, kind of handle on who we're facing, what he's got, our approach. Obviously, he knows every guy's dynamic kind of approach and every guy's kind of mindset and how he ticks in the cage and what kind of unlocks him in the batter's box. But it's ultimately it's not his fault. Now we aren't in the Orioles locker room. We don't know the dynamic
Right,
of the
right,
players in Brandon
right,
Hyde. They might have had a bad
right,
relationship. Again, we are not in that locker. We
right,
have no idea. But I just, in my eyes as a player, in my eyes as a
right.
player, it ain't the manager's fault unless we see that it is the manager's fault. Again, those players might have had something different. I doubt it, and it seemed like they had a
Just
great relationship with them. But it's our fault. We're going out there and playing. We're playing these games. Obviously, he's making decisions here
yeah.
and there, and he's making the lineup and addressing who's starting that day and addressing who's coming in certain situations and certain situations in the game. But ultimately, it's our fault. We got to go out there and perform. It's not this guy's fault. He's not going out there and playing 9 positions every night, But in a sense, as a player, I think we feel like it's our fault. We got to get things done. And you kind of saw it when they interview guys, like, man, you feel bad for the guy,
Yeah.
because ultimately it's up to us to go out there and perform.
And no one felt badder in the Orioles situation than
Yeah.
Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins is
Hmm.
quoted as saying he kind of felt personally responsible for this. And the funny part is Cedric Mullins was one of the two players on the Orioles that were actually
Yeah.
playing really well. Like Cedric was doing
Hmm.
really well and will continue to do really well. And we'll be interested to see, like you said, as that trade deadline approaches and the All-Star break gets there and all
I
that
hope he
stuff.
gets what he
We'll see what
deserves, man.
happens.
He deserves a lot. He deserves more.
We'll
Yeah.
see what happens to Cedric
Hmm.
Mullins, but I disagree. I was saying I disagree with what you were saying quickly
Hmm.
about the media highlighting this and kind of. I don't think I'll restate it this way. I don't think the media blew their start and their early record out of
Hmm.
proportion. What I think happens is they were victims of their own expectations and their previous
Hmm.
success. What I would tell folks is Brandon Hyde was the manager that led them through the wilderness to get to the point where they had over 100 wins 3 years
Hmm.
ago, first round playoffs
Yeah.
last year, 90 something wins they get in. And again, I know they know they lost both playoff series in that first round, that
Yeah.
divisional round. And again, they went into this thinking not only are they going to have a good team, but their goals weren't to get past the first
Yeah.
round of the playoffs. Like they were hosting home games, I think the last 2 years in the playoffs, home series, and they
Hmm.
lost them. And trust me, as an Orioles fan, I'm following this very
Right.
closely. I don't think though what frustrates me about this particular manager being let go doesn't necessarily frustrate me about the Rockies manager being let go. The Rockies have a historically bad start. I don't think either team, to be honest, have the personnel to expect uh, much more. The Orioles
I'm about to
expect
say the
more.
Orioles
They should.
definitely expect more.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But the Rockies, I don't know what they're doing
Yeah.
over there. And I think this is what I'll say in both cases, and then I'll
Hmm.
separate. We're gonna go back to Brandon Hyde. I think both of them were scapegoats for front offices that did not do enough to get to where they wanted to
Hmm.
be. And what I mean by that is we talk about it quite a bit. The Orioles did not make the aggressive understanding. They knew because the fans knew we were losing Corbin Burns, we were losing Santander. We knew
Yeah.
they were gone, and they try to replace an ace pitcher and an all-star outfielder that's usually hitting 30 plus home runs with Tyler O'Neill, who's a
Mm.
good player, but I understand. But Tyler O'Neill and Charlie Morton, and so and then they didn't, they didn't really make the only signing they made in the offseason that seems to be working right now is Ngannou.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
great. Like, I'm glad about that. But I don't think they did enough in the offseason, knowing what we were going to lose. And then knowing the injuries that
Mm.
we had tons of injuries. Grayson Rodriguez still
Yeah.
hasn't pitched. So we have these tons of injuries on the going into the season. Then they come off to a completely slow start. And I think the front offices and those guys are looking around and saying, well, something has to
Mm.
go. And it's not going to be us because we're
Yeah,
the
we ain't gonna
GMs.
fire
I'm not
ourselves.
going to fire myself, even though they failed. I think they failed Brandon Hyde. I think they failed the fan base. I think maybe they were hoping people got
I think they
healthy,
just banked on
but
their young pitching. I think they were just like, no, we're going to give these guys free reign, and I think they
bad
just
move.
banked on that young pitching. But you
And to be honest,
gotta sign. I think the Tyler O'Neill
yeah,
signing was good. Like you said, he's a great player.
I think he's a
He's a
good
great player.
player, but you're going into a season where Westberg wasn't hitting, Rushman wasn't hitting early
Yeah,
on
yeah,
during the
yeah,
slump here. Colton Cowser gets hurt; he was out
yeah.
on the IL.
Gunnar Henderson.
Um, Gunnar Henderson's on
Yeah.
the IL. He's so it was like all of this stuff is happening, and then I think the reaction is fire the guy that led them through all the
Yeah.
dark ages to a point where now, again, going into the season, I predicted the Orioles to be in the World Series. I had the Orioles and the Mets in the World Series, and again, they're starting to win some games. Technically they've got to 25 wins, where really 2 weeks ago I was wondering when they were going to get to 20 wins. So it's like they're starting to show the promise of the team that they could be, but it's
been rough. It's been
I think
rough.
it's tough.
And I think, like you said, it's long season, man. You know what I'm saying? We're just past the 50-something game mark. These guys are gonna have, when you don't have a Gunnar Henderson, potential MVP, you don't have him in your lineup. Then he gets off to a bad start. Then you got Westbrook, which kind of surprised everybody last year. He gets off to a bad start. Adley Rutschman gets off to a bad start. Exactly. Like you have all these guys. Then you have your starting pitching is on the injured. Half your starting pitching staff is on the injured list. You know what I'm saying? And it just snowballs. Then you start off games in the first inning down 2-3 runs, 2, 3, 4, 5 runs. It's tough for an offense that is already struggling to be able to go in that dugout in the bottom of the first. Like, all right, guys, let's battle back again. It's tough to battle back every single day when you know these guys aren't really going hot and you got some guys on the injured list. You know what I'm saying? So
this has got to be for a team like that too. It's got to be a very frustrating year, only because now and again they still could go on a run.
Oh,
They
yeah.
still have a
They can
monster
turn it around
half.
quickly.
Think about last year's Detroit Tigers.
They can turn it around very quickly.
They could turn it around, but if they don't, they're getting to a point where it was like we made all of this progress, and then we got to take a step back, and then the questions are going to come about like what do we need to do to even like ignite a mini rebuild? Do we believe in these core players, the Rushmans, the Hendersons, the Westbergs, the Cowsers? Can they put us over the top? Because I feel, I'll ask you, and then we'll move on. I feel firing Hyde was a panic move. Do you think it was a panic move?
I think so. Move? Like I said, I think they were more so maybe pressured into we got to make a change now. We got to do something. And I think the move is get rid of the manager. And that can't be the first move. Even though, what are you going to do? Get rid of all your young talent? You just can't do that. So I think they were pressured a little bit into making this significant move. But I would agree with that. But again, these guys are talented. You don't just come off a season like that. You don't just build up. Like you said, this guy has been with these kids for 2-3 years with these guys coming up in the minor leagues, and then through spring training, you get him in big league camp. It's like, all right, I get a look at this kid. All right, this kid's going to be our future second baseman, our future shortstop, our future catcher. Like, I get a look at these guys. Now I get them all in the big leagues at the same time. Now they're all having success at the same time, along with that pitching staff. Then you got a back end of the bullpen that they had. Back end of the bullpen started on the IL as well. But he's to start on the IL as well. Now you don't have a closer. Now when you do have a lead, it's like, who's going to save us? You know what I'm saying? So you have all those aspects in there, and then you just fire him off of a bad start after 2 months. It's like, give us a little bit more
After
time. We're
again,
not
after
allowed to
you've
have a
been
bad
there,
start, even though
yeah.
we had, even though we had the success that we have over 90-win season, the season
Yep.
before, but we're not allowed to have a bad 2-month start. Like,
That's why I feel it's a panic. I'm with you
yeah.
100%. That's why I feel like it's a panic move. A little disappointed, and like I said, the players do take it personal. Especially the guys that have been there are taking it pretty hard. Let me just tell the comment.
Mhm.
What up, Bobby? Bobby was like, so we're all in agreement that there's 0% chance that Cedric Mullen will be an Oriole next season, despite him being a fan favorite, absolutely balling this season, and being a survivor of the dark ages. Lou, I'll let you go first. What percentage do you think Cedric Mullins will be an Oriole next
Let me
season?
be generous here and give him like a 15-20%. I think if they haven't locked him up by now or shown that, again, we don't know conversation behind closed doors, but if you haven't made an effort to lock him up by now, I think it's to the free agent market with Cedric, which I hope he gets. Again, I hope he gets what he deserves. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be an Oriole next year.
So, you know what I'm going to tell you on this particular question, and anyone can ask their questions, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
or YouTube. I will try to see them. Um, the question's a little bit off in my mind because the question is he going to be an Oriole next season? I don't know where he's going to be next
Mm-hmm.
season. The question should be, is he going to be an
At
Oriole
the
at
end
the
of
end of this
this
season?
year, at the trade
And I'm going to
deadline,
tell
yeah.
you, there is a 0%
Mm-hmm.
chance that that said stays with the O's. I think they deal. I would think it would be malpractice for the Orioles, especially if the season continues to go where they are now. And if they're in the bottom of the AL East or even second to the bottom of the AL East, it is absolute malpractice for this organization, Michael Ice and those guys, not to get something back for at least a half season
Yeah.
rental on a very talented Cedric Mullins. What I've heard already is that teams like the Phillies are looking at
Mm-hmm.
said for a playoff run. A team like the Mets are looking at said for a
Mm-hmm.
playoff run. If that's
A lot
the
of lefties in
case,
that lineup if you go to the Mets, though. A lot of
right? But if that's
mm-hmm.
the case, all of these organizations, and it may not be those two. I mean, I think they're just
Right, they're just throwing names
honestly
out there,
throwing
yeah.
fantasy trades. But all of these organizations that will want a Cedric Mullins for half a season have to have some young
Mm-hmm.
asset that they would be willing to come off of to give to the Orioles. Now, I know what a lot of people are saying too is that the Orioles are loaded with young assets and they may not need them. And you're right. But what I'm saying is get something
Mm-hmm.
for him. He's not,
He's walking anyway.
he's at the end of his
Yeah.
contract. You guys are not going anywhere. And he's a player that other playoff teams are
Mm-hmm.
going to want. So get something back for him, and then you could use that piece, whatever you get for him,
However you see
and in
fit.
future
Yeah.
deals, yeah, to build up. So that's the fantasy GM booking that I
Mm-hmm.
like to do is to say, okay, what can we get? What arm
Yeah.
can we get? For a Cedric Mullins that is young, maybe in high A, low A, a former draft pick, something like that, and maybe I deal that in a package when we're trying to figure out how we move forward in the
Mm-hmm.
season. One thing the Orioles don't do very well, and it's very well noted, is that they do not draft pitchers and they do not develop
Mm-hmm.
pitchers. If you go back through the entire, I want to say the last 5 or 6 years about homegrown drafted Orioles pitchers, the answer is
They're
like 0.
trying with
It's just not working.
Rodriguez.
It's
And
just not
yeah.
working.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
But no, I think you got to deal. I think you
Yeah.
have to. Again, malpractice if the Orioles don't deal said if unless they go on this
I was
miracle
literally
run
just
and
about to ask, what if the Orioles go in a miracle run and they're at the top of the NL East, if not
AL
the wild card at the trade
So
deadline? Do they still get rid of Cedric Mullins
let's take a
if they
look
turn
at
around?
it
If they
because
turn it around,
and again they're starting to win games. So all of the talk about the Orioles as we speak right now. Do you know how far back they are in the wild card right
no,
now?
I'm not sure. I don't have it pulled up.
7.5
7.5 games, which is not bad.
It's doable.
Not bad at all.
It's doable. No. But I would tell you this. If we get up to the deadline, how much do you believe in Colton Cowser? How much do you believe in Jerkstad? And how much do you believe in these young outfielders that they got out there. And I would still say if we're not going to make the playoffs and somebody really wants Cedric Mullins, I'd probably deal him. And
I'm in
you know,
agreement with you for sure.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think you get rid of
I would love a scenario where you could deal him for this half of the season and then re-sign him next year. I don't think that would happen. Maybe not. I mean, he's only been in Baltimore, so it's like maybe the ties there are so strong, and you are transparent and you explain everything. The thing that sticks in the back of my mind is that I know I've been told. I don't know Cedric Mullins. I've never met Cedric Mullins. I know people close to Cedric Mullins or around Cedric Mullins, and I've been told that his people really wanted an extension this offseason, and they didn't get it. And so I don't know where the feelings are there. And then, like I said, moving forward,
We'll
so we'll
see what happens.
We'll
see what happens.
It's but we got into that discussion simply because of the manager influence, and I want to put a bow on it because I just feel like either they get too much blame or too much credit, or not enough blame, not enough credit. Let me look right now. Like a manager like Boone in New York, constantly under scrutiny.
It's New York.
Constantly.
It's the Yankees.
They were in the World Series last year. They're always in the playoffs, it feels like. It seems like the Boone years, I don't know what his actual overall Yankee record is, but it seems like he is a fairly decent manager in that environment, in that city, that has to deal with all of these personalities and playing in the Bronx. And it seems like they want Boone fired literally.
That's just the Bronx, though. They lose a game, get him out of here. Get him out of here. We're done with
it. Yeah. So it's like, how much does even managers like that? Like, so if you're Boone in New York, or you're Cora in Boston, where it's just like the media frenzy is all over you, they're just on top of you. Like, how much is it important for them to be able to like influence their coach?
I mean, it's huge. You have to block out that noise, and I think with Aaron Boone playing for the Yankees, he already knows the noise that comes with putting on those pinstripes, along with Alex Cora playing with the Red Sox. Like, he understands what it is to put on that historic uniform and what it means to these fans. Now, these fans are passionate. They say craziness. They come to the game, expect you.
Dave Roberts. They talk about firing Dave Roberts every year.
But this guy surgically won y'all a World Series. Like, obviously, you got the players, you got the most talented team in baseball, but this guy surgically put pieces together at the end of the year is just scientifically insane. But with guys like Aaron Boone, guys like Alex Cora that are always under scrutiny of being fired, like, they understand what team they're managing for. They also understand that fan base and how passionate they are and how much they want to win and expect to win every single year, especially the Yankees, which, like you said, seems like they're in the heat of things every year, no matter who's on their team. Which you have to be being in a big market in New York. But I think they just block out that noise. I think they have great relationships with their players. I think their players trust them, and just watching their dynamic and kind of seeing behind the scenes things about players talking about Aaron Boone, about Alex Cora, they trust those guys. I think that's the best term. They just trust them to have their back no matter what. And
as a player, it makes a big difference.
What's that?
You, right? As a player, it makes a big difference for you to have a manager that you feel can handle the environment, handle the external factors.
You have to be able to trust your manager. You have to be able to talk to your manager about anything that's going on personally or on the field if you're going through something. Now, again, it goes back to a Jared Duran, a Rafi Devers, a Alex Bregman. Those guys have a little bit more leeway to say a little bit more, be a little bit more personal with their manager to let them know, hey, man, I'm going through this right now, man. This is why I'm kind of feeling that way. Whereas a Romy Gonzalez, Abraham Toro, those guys that are on the back end of the roster, maybe you have to keep that a little bit in-house. Now, you still check on those guys. I'm not saying you don't check in on those guys, but those guys that are on the back end of the roster, this is just real talk right now. Those guys that are on the back end of the roster, those guys have to keep a little bit in-house of how they're feeling, because it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you can't handle it. Let me get somebody else in there. Same thing when it comes to the Yankees. I mean, they got a little bit more star power when you go over to the Yankees, but both of those managers know what it means to be the managers of those franchises, and they know what's at stake, but I don't think they let that get in their head.
Do you think, now that we're kind of out of this particular part, there's new stuff that's happening in Boston. Cora was just in the press earlier this week saying the team is bad or playing bad. It was something that he was quoted in saying that raised my eyebrows. But now that we're kind of on the, we're kind of through the immediate fire of the Devers situation, do you think, as the manager, do you think Alex Cora handled that well?
With the Devers situation?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean,
what more
could you have done? Exactly. I mean, you have your internal talks, which you try to keep in-house as much as you can with Devers. I think he gave as much as he wanted to give as far as what was going on with Rafi Devers. So, I mean, I think he handled it fine. I think he handled the media fine. I think the media was trying to maybe put Rafi under a selfish light, and he kind of stirred away from that. So I think he did a great job, a phenomenal job of having Rafi's back. And that's what I'm talking about. Other guys see that. If somebody else is going through something, or they're being perceived as this selfish player, or whatever the case may be, you have the manager to spin on that and have that player's back. No, he's a team player. I've talked to Rafi. We've handled it. We're going to move on. Like, nip it in the butt right there and just move on and focus everything on the Red Sox winning ball games instead of Rafi Devers. What's going on with Rafi? Have you talked to Rafi? Is he going to play first base? Is he going to DH? Is he okay with that? Like, stirring that away from all that negative talk and like, no, the Red Sox will handle it the way we need to handle it, and we're going to keep it in house. And that's just the mindset you have to have when it comes to situations like that. So I think he handled that perfectly.
I will give him credit for the handling of the Devers situation.
Yeah.
I think Cora did a really good job, especially when it turns out that Devers was the one initially that was going to the press or leaking kind of the public information. Then the news got out. I don't know. I don't think it was from the Devers end on that, but I think the news got out that the brass was meeting with Devers and all that. So I do think of this particular situation, which was a very, very difficult situation, I think for Cora. I think Cora was in the worst spot.
Yeah.
Because who's the guy that has to go to these guys and say, I need you to play third base. I need you to play first base. I need you not to play third base. I need you to be – Cora's the guy that's doing the communication.
Yeah, ultimately. Yeah, every day.
So I feel like he was in a very, very tough spot overall. And I do think he handled that part of it well. But I do think what's happening now, everything for a Cora and Alex Cora, I think everything is emphasized because now the Red Sox aren't playing. We've had this situation. The Red Sox are still, they're 30-34. They're 9.5 games back of the Yankees in the East, and they don't seem very competitive in it. So I think that stuff is elevated, right? That's exasperated.
That's magnified for sure. It's like, you guys were supposed to be a great team, and now what's going on? Is it Devers? Is he messing up the chemistry of the team and all this other stuff?
So let's switch gears, and I want to touch on two topics before we get out of here. Before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy talking baseball every day, and if you enjoy talking in particularly Black baseball, do not hesitate. Send the Black Baseball Mixtape a DM. Ask to join our Discord group. Our Discord is absolutely free. If you join our Discord, you will be in a community of baseball fans that love to talk baseball every day. There's a highlight and an emphasis on Black baseball players, Black baseball news, Black baseball media, but it also is open to just baseball fans that want to talk about baseball as well. It is the Black Baseball Mixtape Discord. It's absolutely free. DM the Black Baseball Mixtape on Instagram or send us an email or a note, and we will get you in the Discord group. So make sure you join. Lewis Brinson, two things before we get you out of here, because you mentioned you were a Miami Marlin playing in 2020 in the playoffs, and there were no fans in the stands. Let's fast forward, because I want to ask you, it's been making news this week. 2025, in Miami, there are no COVID restrictions, and they had back-to-back games with paid attendance of 5,000. I want to say
Yeah.
5,800, and then 6,000. Just I was telling my wife because my wife doesn't understand the comparison. So I said, "Hey, honey, the Marlins had paid attendance of about 6,000 fans in the stands for an afternoon game earlier this week. They're
Right.
playing the Colorado
Right.
Rockies." And so my wife was thinking about it, and we live in a double A town in Richmond, Virginia. The capacity of our stadium is about 9,000. We are, Richmond has a great crowd. They have great, so they usually beat 6,000 fans every night. But I was saying, it's about 9,000 in Richmond, and she was like, so 6,000 fans. And then we asked about another comparison. I think there was an afternoon game in Fenway the same day of the Miami game that was 6,000 fans. And she goes, so how many? Oh no, there was two afternoon games. I'll say that there was an afternoon game in Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, and then there was an afternoon game in Fenway. So Marlins get 6,000. Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati afternoon game. They got about 17,000. Fenway got over 30,000. And so we're just doing the math. And so the question I say all that to say, you played in the stadium. I guess is it a new stadium? You didn't play. Did you play
Yeah, I
in the
played in
stadium
Low
you're playing
Depot.
now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Low Depot. Okay. How demoralizing is it to go to go out there in a major league? You're in a major league ballpark, major league uniform, major league stands, no COVID restrictions, and you've got 5,800 people in the
It,
stands. How is that mental?
it's tough. It's tough. I'm gonna answer this with grace, just because I've been there and I've run out on the field.
It wasn't that low. Was it that low when you were
Some of
playing?
them were. Some of them were. Some of them, playing. There's not a lot of Cincinnati Red fans in South Florida. There's not a lot of Colorado Rocky fans in South Florida. There's not a lot of A's fans in South Florida. So, you
Right.
play a weekday series Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. People are going to work. They got work early in the morning. Especially a day game on a Wednesday. Like, people were at work, can't make it to a game. I know kids are out of school, but again, parents are at work, can't just go to the field by yourself as a kid. So again, you play some of these teams that are maybe on the West Coast that don't really have a lot of fans, and they're during the week. I have experienced that, and it sucks. Just to put it in most transparent words, it sucks. It's trash.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing, like you said, running out there for a big league game, and especially for me playing in my hometown,
Yeah.
being able to hear my mom yell and say hi, yeah,
Loudly. You can hear it
and
clear.
before a game, like yelling at me that she's there, because I always look up, because my mom retired the year I got traded to the Marlins, so she was at every game that she could be
Okay.
at. So I
Oh wow.
always looked up at her, make sure she was there when I would run out to the field. And yeah, there were some times where sometimes it didn't feel like it could have been 5,000. I'm like, there's no way there could be 5,000 people there.
Right. This is paid
Yeah,
attendance. This is not necessarily
who's
who's
at the
at the
game.
game.
So it's just it's demoralizing, like you said, as a big league ball club, two big league ball clubs. I mean, because the other team's got to play in it as well. In
Yeah.
Colorado, I mean, they're not that great, but people still show up to that stadium.
They have
Yeah,
better attendance
they
than
have
I
great
thought. They
attendance,
have
and
much
it's
better. They have better attendance than Miami and
yeah.
Tampa Bay
So I
traditionally.
mean, it's a beautiful ballpark.
It's something about Florida, Lou. What are y'all doing in Florida that y'all
It's
don't go to
just not
baseball
a
games?
baseball town if you're not winning. And when I was playing there, I
Yeah.
remember them asking me like, "Hey, how do we, what's something that you think we could get more people?" I'm like, "Pick up this stadium and move it to Fort Lauderdale, because that's where all the real Marlin fans are. Where I grew up, that's where all the real
Oh
Marlin. I mean,
man,
there's Marlin fans in
that's crazy.
Miami, but there's a million other things to do in Miami. Not saying that Marlins games aren't fun and dynamic and great, and kind of it's a fun atmosphere because it's Miami. They try to make it like a Miami kind of theme, but it's just basketball and football and hockey. I mean, hi,
Yeah.
the Panthers are in
Yeah.
the finals
Again,
for third year in a
there's
row.
examples of other things being successful. It's
You
just
just
not
have to
baseball.
be. You just have to win. And I told him we got to win. We got to put on a good product. We have to put
Yeah.
out a good product, and we got to win. To win in Miami, honestly, is one of the dopest cities to win in. Honestly, because
Yeah.
to run
Yeah.
and go in and just go through Miami, and everybody knows who you are. You're playing on a great team. Hey, man, you guys just went to playoffs, or you guys won the World Series, man. Come on, we want to invite you and your family to Komodo. We want to invite you and your family to this new restaurant
Right.
that we're opening. Like, yeah,
There's a
man,
lot to do.
it's a top notch thing. It's a hot commodity to be in Miami and win and just bring a championship to that city, especially for me, being from there. But it's just
Yeah.
not a city
Yeah.
where you ain't winning, we ain't coming. We got other things to do.
Lou, as we close this thing out, I'd just like to let people know, especially if you're a Texas Tech, I believe it's Red Raider fan. Oh my goodness, it's happening as we
What's that?
speak. There are the bases loaded, 2 outs. This is the bottom of the 5th, and there was a hit by a
Oh,
pitch. So it was a hit by a pitch. 1 run scores. Then there was just a wild pitch, 2 run score. So now there's runners on second and third, 2 outs. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, Lady Red Raiders, have a lead and Najee Kennedy on
has she
the
pitched
bump.
every inning for
Again,
them in the?
she's pitched every inning of the regional, super regional, and now in the College World Series. A million and 2 will get that for
Wow.
you. So
Hey, man.
again,
Listen.
1,000,000 will get that for her. And she's a
Yeah.
junior. She's got another year to come back and pitch for
That's all
Texas
right,
Tech
man. That's the
again next year.
natural motion of the
So
arm. She could pitch
hey,
1,000
yeah,
pitches.
do your thing. But hey, look, I guess under fast pitch underhand isn't this because there's no I don't know if there's arm damage.
No,
I don't know
your
how it
arm
works.
is not.
But she's
I've heard about this, so that's the reason why they can pitch multiple days in a row
yeah,
and throw as many pitch. They can pitch all game
yeah,
because that's your natural movement of your arm. Your arm is not supposed to
yeah.
go this way. That's why everybody gets hurt with
Oh,
their shoulder and their elbow. Our
yeah.
arm is not supposed to move that fast going forward.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Well, it is amazing, and it looks. I mean, it's not over yet. I mean, Texas came back before, but it's at the bottom of the 5th. 2 outs, 2-0 now in Texas Tech. Ladies and gentlemen, before we close you out, we got to thank our partners again: Steeler Sports, the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest, Sunflower Seeds, Numbers Game Scorecards, Minority Prospects, Red, Black, and Green Baseball. Lou, the last segment that we're going to talk about briefly before we get you out of here because we're coming up on time is I think you had votes in this. The first ever Black Baseball Mixtape player rankings came out. They came out. We did top 3 position players, top 3 pitchers. And again, for people that have not been familiar with this, I need to explain it. It is every level. It could be an indie ball pitcher that you think is the best Black American-born pitcher in the game right now. It doesn't matter. It could be a little league player, a high school student, a draftee. You could put them in the power rankings because baseball looks like baseball at every level, and you just got to kind of put it together. So this is what the results are. You can tell me how you feel about these things. Now, position players, we do go to the top level. We went to the top level this time. Number 1, of course, is Aaron Judge. He's in the world of his own. Number 2 was James Wood. James Wood got a ton of votes. Matter of fact, there was one ballot that had James Wood number 1 and Aaron Judge not on the list. I don't know what that's about, but still.
Was that Flobo?
James Wood was number 2. No, it was not Flobo. It was not Flobo. James Wood was number 2. Byron Buxton. There was a lot. Number 3, I will tell you this. Judge and Wood clearly almost unanimous 1-2. Number 3 was all over the place. There was a ton of number 3 votes. Number 3, Byron Buxton kind of eked it out. Got a couple of tie-breaking votes there. I think he deserves it. Do you have any beef? Do you have any beef with 1, 2, 3 of the Black Baseball Mixtape position?
No, that was my 1, 2, 3. So I have no beef with that. All 3 of them are having, phenomenal years. Obviously, James Wood is going to be, top of the league superstar. Already is probably going to make his first All-Star team this year. So, and Byron's just, resurging and showing why he got that much money. And when he's one of the most electric players in the game still.
So I will also say, in full disclosure, that was my top 3 votes as
Mm.
well. Uh, Judge, Wood, Buxton. So we were on the same page. I have no beef with that. Again, I think people forget how good Byron Buxton is until, like, I'm watching him play
Yeah,
every day. Like, I'm watching Major League Baseball highlights, affiliate ball highlights. I'm watching highlights every day. But I'm reading box scores every day. And Byron Buxton is unreal.
he's doing
Like, I'm
big
watching
things.
defensive plays every year. He can do it all. And at his age, he's got one of the fastest. I don't think it's the fastest, but one of the fastest, like, home to first sprint
Yeah,
speeds in
because
all of
his
baseball
strides
at
are
his age.
just
Yeah, he's
yeah.
amazingly fast. He's great defensively, and he can hit a ton. So Byron Buxton is there. The pitching is where it got really controversial. The pitching is where we had discussions of eligibility. All
Yep.
kinds of things were going around the pitching. So number 1 was Hunter Green.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like Hunter Green just went
Yeah,
back
he
on the
did with a
IL. Is
groin
that
injury.
was
Mm-hmm.
it growing? So tough. He wound up
Yeah.
pitching I want to say 5 innings with 7 strikeouts, and he said after the game this week, when he was like his second game
Mm-hmm.
off the IL, that he felt something pull and he's kind of concerned and
Yeah,
frustrated
they just
about
went
it.
ahead and put him on the IL.
But he's one that's making an all-star
Mm-hmm.
campaign. He looks phenomenal when he's
Yep.
playing. And so hopefully they can get him right, get him back on. But if this is his second stint this fast, like, he came off the IL and literally I think he only got
I
2 or
don't
3
think he
starts.
was fully healthy to begin with, honestly, especially if it
Oh,
was the same one. Uh, so yeah,
yeah. So the issue is, do you even sit him? He might not come back before the All-Star game.
I wouldn't, especially if the Reds are trying to make a push. I would,
So the Reds, as they stand right
yeah.
now, are 30 and 33. They're 9.5 games back in the Central, which we talked about this. The Central is a surprisingly good
Mm-hmm.
division this year.
The Cubs could run away with
Um,
that easily. They're not even on a hot streak right now, so they could.
the Reds are only 5 games out of the wild card, though. So again, if you're looking at the wild card, it's a lot closer than some of the
Right.
division leads, right? But wishing Hunter Green the
Absolutely.
best. Huge fan of Hunter Green. He was number 1. Chase Burns, Chattanooga Lookouts, AA, former number 2 overall pick
Yep.
last season. Now, I will say this: he has pitched
Yeah.
lights out,
I was looking up his stats.
lights
A
out
193
in AA,
over 2 levels,
lights out,
46
lights out.
innings, 69
Um,
strikeouts.
but the controversy falls, and I did not know this at the time. I did not know Chase Burns is born in Italy. So
Uh,
now and again, I think he was born in like an American, like on American military base or some type of American
American
like
soil.
institute. He's an American
Yeah.
citizen with like some, like, his parents were either diplomats or military folks,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. So he's got all full American
Yeah.
born rights. But there was a controversy of being that he was physically born in Naples, Italy. Does it count as an American born black baseball player? Chase Burns, number 2. Most people that voted on Monday said it absolutely
Yeah. I
counts.
think it
He
counts.
counts.
Born American soil.
But,
Yeah.
there were some people in the comments that were saying Chase Burns was ineligible. Just
I mean, if we're talking like, I can get it. Some people might be like, "Oh man, we're talking big leagues. Like we're talking, guys over here." But he's American born. Especially if you're born on a military base, that's
absolutely.
American soil. But
Yeah. Number 3, as we talking about the Texas Tech Lady Red Raiders, Najee Kennedy.
Nigel, bro.
Najee Kennedy is in Texas, just hit one over the wall, and it is now 2-1 Texas. 2-1 Texas Tech. But wow, she took Najee over the wall. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3: Hunter Green, Chase Burns, Najee Kennedy, Lewis Brinson. Do you have any beef with this? There's some folks. I mean, obviously Taj Bradley got votes. There were Devin Williams got votes. So it's like I get excited about this because I believe this is the spirit of the rankings, is to have all of these different levels of people saying, "Oh no, this person's good." And again, they're not pitching at the highest level, but I like that. That gets me excited. If you were on a minor league baseball run, like say Jack Caglione, well, he's like, and Nick Kurtz. Remember Nick Kurtz when he's hitting like literally every day and double A? I would have put him in the power rankings. You know what I mean? If they were eligible. I'm just saying. So Najee getting in, Chase Burns getting in, I think spices things up but do you disagree with them being in the top 3 because they're not major league players?
I'm more so because it seems like Chase Burns is going to be up there pretty soon. Maybe not this year. Might need to give him another year. We'll maybe see him at the beginning of next year. And don't kill me on this, but Nyjah, listen, okay. I know she is dominating women's softball, college softball right now. But let's.
You can't put her in your rankings.
I'm sorry. I know she's dominating and she's great, and I
would have put her number 1. I voted for her as 1.
I love that for the sport, and I hope she has tons and tons more success now that she can further her career in the professional softball rankings. Yeah. But I thought we were just keeping it baseball, and I know it spices things up. I know it has a fun dynamic.
I love it.
But that's just my whole gripe with it. I'd rather put a Taj or a Devin Williams in there.
Great, you got it. Hey, and you have votes. You're part of the panel.
I'm sorry. But
ladies and gentlemen, this has been fun. Lou, as always, my brother, I really appreciate you. You are traveling soon. Where are you going to be with your baseball adventures?
So I'm gonna be in Colorado. If y'all are at the Colorado Rockies game tomorrow and Saturday, we'll be at both of those. So if you see me, say what's up. So I'll be out there exploring Colorado and Denver, Colorado for about 2 days and head on back home.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I love that ballpark.
Baseball's bad, but
it's a great city. Yeah.
Right. It's a beautiful town.
Love Denver.
So, hey, look, man, go out there, be safe. We will be back with you on Thursday nights, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Black Baseball Mixtape. Again, thanking all of our sponsors. We've got literally look, this whole episode is a prep just for me to say we've got Little League Baseball playoffs on Saturday. So my 10-year-old little man Cam will be out on the field. My niece. So this is the funny part is my niece, my sister's daughter, my lovely niece who's got a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Madison. She is on the team with my son Cam. They both play baseball, and she's phenomenal. He's a good player as well. And like I said, we've got the playoffs going. So we really, are overanalyzing.
It's a big time. It's a big time in the household.
We've got the Joe Torre. Anything you need. All of our dad parents are going a little crazy. I do wish everyone that's in this kind of season of regional state playoffs, obviously super regionals for NCAA. Obviously, the ladies here are playing the championship series, but that time is the best time of your lives. So make sure you enjoy those really, really fun baseball and softball experiences. Dude, thank you, my brother. Until